6 days since arrival. Metal groans, power lines hum, things skitter in the pipes. Yaraskis picks her way through rubble with a double arm load of scrap. She's finally growing out of Drek scale, lower arms regrown all the way down to her talons. But she's still slight enough to duck through the smallest shafts of their new home, an orbital station, ancient and damaged, but fixable, everyone thinks. The station hasn't been inhabited for a very long time, but Yaraskis catches herself looking over her shoulder repeatedly. Her spine prickles as an eerie mechanical voice speaks above her head. Some old message for humans, Karo said. Nothing to worry about, but unsettling all the same. It's a relief to get to the workshop. She kicks at the doorframe. Scrap delivery? Karo is smaller than Yaraskis, still true Drek. Even so, people pay attention to him because he hatched with 8 eyes. That means he's handsome, 1 in a million lucky. And he's sharp. He was in on the plan from the beginning. Yaraskis only got tapped because she's his egg cousin. Karo gestures without looking up from his screens. Put it anywhere. The workshop is one of the creepier rooms on the station, in Yaraskis' opinion. It's filled with metal tables bolted to the floor. They had to clear out a whole pile of empty Vex bodies before the room was usable. Yaraskis tries not to touch anything as she sets down her bundle. What are you working on? Analyzing some old mechanical blueprints. If we can splice into the systems, there's as much to use up here as down on the surface. And there aren't any Vex up here. No hive, no light bearers. No Kells, Yaraskis says firmly. No Kells, Karo adds. Plenty of ether if these blueprints hold true, though. There's a machine. It's in 2 parts. One collects energy, one uses it. We just need the collector for the servitors, and we're set for life. He tilts one of the screens her way. Ether for life. Up here in the cold dark. It makes everything worth it. The overwhelming feeling of fear as they escape from Europa. The careful navigation around the hazards on the station as they work to make it livable. And yes, Yaraskis may get shooed out of engineering meetings because she doesn't understand, but nobody will cut off her arms for insubordination. She flexes her lower hands and leans in to study their future. "17 days since arrival. Karo is busy all the time talking to the vandals and marauders too big to even look at Yaraskis. They're working together to build an ether refinery, using old human blueprints from the station. He rarely has time for Yaraskis. Yaraskis would make a terrible engineer. In her cocoon, she dreamed of being a captain, not a priest. She fetches and carries and mops up the old stains nobody wants to touch, making the station livable again. Day by day, their home fills up with comforting noise, the pleasant creak of cable ties stringing platforms together, the thump-click of foot wraps and claws on decking, of the arguments between the only 2 crew members who understand servitor code. It's nothing like a good solid warren, but it's safe, and that's good enough. And once they have ether flowing in, it'll be even better. Yaraskis tries to ignore the station voice as she tosses a rag into the machine that is almost an incinerator. From behind, a hand yanks her hood. She yells. Its owner dodges her return swipe. Karo, I need to talk to you. Something is wrong. I can't find Paskir. Paskir is another engineer, big for a vandal. Big enough that his former captain was eyeing him as a challenger, which is why he agreed to steal a catch with them in the first place. Maybe he got lost, or stuck in some goo. Whatever the humans did on this station, it involved a lot of liquids. Yaraskis disinfects her hands at least 5 times a day. He was going to help me with a nuclear power supply and never showed up. And I heard something in the halls. At her look, Karo adds, something big. Anything big would have starved long before we got here. Just wait. I bet he got stuck in one of those zero-gravity areas and he'll call for help soon. You'll help me look? She hooks an arm around Karo and pulls him away from the almost incinerator. If he doesn't turn up with an embarrassing story in the morning, well, I'll go look for him. Karo loves engineering. He should be a servitor's priest or a splicer. Yaraskis wants to be his captain, assign him to the priesthood. She wants to get so tall that her head brushes the ceiling, and her arms are long enough to wrap around the whole crew. It's better to be here than with the houses. It has to be better. 23 days since arrival. The ether generator is taking shape, a big ringed shell set a safe distance away from the hull, cradled in wiring. Their crew's 3 spinners are busy all the time making more cabling. Except, somehow, it's too quiet. The older crew are a little snooty about Drex, and that's fine, but Yaraskis can't even find one of them to be snooty at her. Paskir is still missing. She and Kara hunted for him up and down the station for hours. Nobody suggests going back down to the surface. They'd be killed outright. Their big plan, a hidden warren where nobody will ever bother them again, has to work. Yaraskis sticks to the smaller, dimly lit corridors now, where only the Drex fit. She doesn't like the big open ones with their flat, bright lights, reverberating acoustics, and the feeling that someone is always watching her. Karo stays at his work. Yaraskis, ignoring her own, explores the station instead, hunting for their missing crewmates. She makes a tally as she goes, checking every corner of the station, and keeping an ear out for the barely audible whine of the charged scattercape. A full third of the crew are gone. She hears a muted shriek, something under the flickering buzz of a dying light. Then the scrape of metal on metal. She hunches her shoulders deeper into her cloak against the feeling of being followed. The scraping sound stalks her even through her shortcuts. She turns to look back. Still nothing. She can't find Paskir. She can't find anyone. There's nothing to do but give up. Yaraskis heads back down to Karo's workshop. It's empty. Silent as a dead warren. Karo is gone. 39 days since arrival. Catches and warrens are creaky things. Cables groan, steps squeak, hammocks rustle. Ether bright eyes should glow and blink in the comfortable dark. Yaraskis had expected they would fill up the station, all of them, with repaired machinery and stolen comforts and familiar sounds. All the station sounds are lonely now. Even the station voice would be a comfort. Almost. She hasn't seen Karo in days. The remaining engineers only talk to each other, and the servitors groan and bob in the air, together in one nervous bundle. And something is stalking the hallways. It has eyes like an Eliksni, but they don't flicker like they should. They burn steadily, lit not by ether, but by something else. Even the marauders tell her about it in whispers, so scared they ignore hierarchy. Yaraskis feels its presence in her spirit pools. She decides to head for Karo's workshop. She can hide there. Then a marauder swings into view. His eyes are strange, and he doesn't look at Yaraskis. He just says, "Come here." She runs. Through the halls, leaping over platforms strung together, scoring her side badly on an unexpected twist of metal. The missing crew loom out of corners, calling out as she runs past. She doesn't stop. Till a voice calls her by name. It's Karo. He's braced himself in the corner of the ceiling near a broken vent gate that Yaraskis knows leads to the station hall. It's too small for anyone bigger than a Drek. She leaps. Hands claw at her ankles as Yaraskis kicks her way up the wall. "This way," Karo urges. They scurry through twisting passages, through the vents and underfloors that long ago humans never meant for anyone to walk in. They run over the wreckage, in and out of the gravity generator's pull, towards the catch. Maybe they'll be safe there. Maybe they can cast off and run. "What's wrong with them?" Yaraskis asks, panting. Her heart kicks hard in her chest. Nothing. Karo stops on a dime at the vent's exit. Yaraskis' momentum takes her clear past him, into a wide room. She looks far up into the bright, steady glare of mechanical eyes, filled with alien light. And Kara pushes her forward into the arms of the white captain. Time is suspended. All that remains is the appointed task. The spinners craft tow ropes, power lines, and all-purpose cable, hour after hour without rest. The white captain moves among them with her many limbs. She feels what they feel, knows what they know as soon as they know it. She uses the information to align, and together they build something new in this home they've found. Every Drek yearns for more arms than their captain allows. Every four-eyed Eliksni looks with envy upon the eight-eyed. Every Kel and Archon raises their horns as high as they dare. Now, together they are as no Eliksni before them. A miracle. A being of hundreds of limbs, lungs, and eyes. The white captain gently touches the limb previously named Yaraskis. Her appointed portion of the great diagram flowers to life in her head. Legs stumbling under her, she moves toward the station's prow. One limb may be unsteady, but their great shared body is strong. Faint noises make no sense, words she doesn't understand. The un-Eliksni babbling of a foreign mind. The only mind that matters is the white captain's. Hands connect circuits and power lines. The diagram is beautiful but difficult to grasp. She searches for the right shape, the right configuration that will let power flow through its appointed channels. The work goes on until the hands tie off the last cable. The eyes look up. The knees buckle in joy. The heart surges along the bright path of the diagram. Somewhere in the joined crowd, a hand throws a single lever. The mind rejoices. Orange light flares to life in the cold dark. It flares in hundreds of souls. Yaraskis is there. Somewhere.